Bases drop for Thursday thoughts. Well, here's not too bad. Hang on. Let me plaster this thing down. I think I just need like a full helmet instead of just a headset for this stuff. Anyway, okay. Welcome to Thursday Thoughts here, SDH AM. John, here, you there. Rundown as always. The Power Hour in hour number 2, where we go around the world in 60 minutes with our friends Nino Torres, and we find out just how fattening his desserts are as he continues to build and grow that particular part of his industry. And then after that, to looking at South America and Libertadores and Sudamericana qualifying and what's going on around the continent. Maybe a little Portugal, then our buddy Niko Moreno, who probably had a very early wake-up call because there are 2 friendlies going on right now in preseason camp in Marbella, Spain, that started at 7 o'clock this morning, our time, which subtract 3 is 4 o'clock his time. He'll be joining us. He might be on cup number 3 because of those 2 friendlies, but Seattle is a couple of back-to-backers today, and Niko Moreno is going to join us at 10:30 to break down everything from a Pacific perspective in the Western Conference, the week that was, and getting you ready for the week that will be. In the rest of hour number 1, we've got to get into what happened in CONCACAF last night. Close call for a grande. We'll have the highlight there. And then the late night, it was one of those opportunities for a 16 to beat a 1. And we're just going to put it there. So it was a bit of a long night for Vancouver FC, the other Vancouver. So Vancouver FC had a long night against Cruz Azul, the defending champs. And we'll get you highlights there with a little bit of post. And we'll cover CONCACAF with what happened last night. The U17s, the US U17s, are getting ready to qualify if everything goes the way they anticipate. They're going to be, it's a World Cup qualification tournament in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so we'll get into that in just a little bit. We'll hear from the head coach of the U17s as they get ready for the tournament. You can watch those matches on FS2, and that'll be a part of what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it as we get you through your day. But yes, you can pick up the U17 tournament as well as a part of your viewing experience that's going on. Got some news across the pond having to do with championships and rule changes that coaches are calling for, and we'll get into that. We do have a little bit of transfer news because, remember, the Brazilian window is open a little longer than the others. There might even be a John Texter update in there just to kind of let you know what's going on when it comes to the banks and looking at the state of affairs and can this happen or this happen. You probably have an update there as well coming up in hour number 1. All right, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Now, morning, Abby, morning, David. And Abby, I don't know. Abby had a friendlies question, so let me go ahead and post it to the floor here. The next friendly is going to be shown on video. There was a discussion, and this is just like casual talk with no bearing in any of the actual competition itself. Let me check with both Houston and Dallas, and I want to see if they have their notes. Morning, Alex. I want to see if they have their schedule up. Single ticket matches, shopping, schedule. All right, so let's start with schedule with Dallas anyway. And it is nothing in February, so broadcast, no matches on this date because I'm aware of that. So, all right, so in the Tejas moments with FCD, I don't see anything yet. So the FC Dallas, the FC Dallas match, right now there is no wording on whether or not it is going to be televised. Now, if we go to the Houston Dynamo section, and so if we were to check Houston Dynamo and the Torneo de Tejas, because I almost called it the Copa de Tejas, but it is the Torneo de Tejas. So Fan Fest is slated for the 14th. And they signed Franco Negri. They signed Mateus Bogusz. Bogo. So apparently they're doing a buy one, get one free with Mati Bogusz for one of their matches. And let's see. So let's check news and see if they have anything involving the Torneo de Tejas. And okay, so Houston and all right. So limited preseason ticketing opportunities. Inaugural Torneo de Tejas and built as a scalable tournament model, offering consistent match quality, shared operational standards, and top-tier facilities in 2 major markets. And let's see. So nothing has been mentioned in either team's notes so far, considering that the matchup with Houston and Atlanta is set at Hell in a Shell on Saturday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. No word yet. As I sit here, it's like, things could change and all that. But right now, Torneo de Tejas does not look like it is being televised. Like I said, this could change between now and then, and you could have something completely different but there's no wording on either team's website, either the Dynamo or on FCD's website, if there's going to be anything involving any kind of television, streaming, what have you. But obviously, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it when it comes to Atlanta and when it comes to their tour of Texas coming up. 3 matches in a week's time. And so, just preseason additions, but nothing involving. So the Torneo de Tejas will exist, but we don't know about any kind of streaming or anything like that when it comes to broadcasts for the 4 teams and their matches yet. So like I said, nothing's been published that I can find very quickly here, but we'll keep an eye on it. If it is going to be streamed, what have you, obviously we'll let you know, but nothing as of yet. Like I said, that could change, and this is me just doing an incredibly rudimentary search. But right now, Torneo de Tejas, the 3 matches, nothing yet, and it would be something from the other. It would be from the home team side, unless Atlanta United came up with an agreement one way or the other, and had voices out there, and it was broadcast back this way. So nothing yet. Bookmark there. We don't quite know. So when we get more information, obviously, we'll let you know. If you guys hear anything, since you are our intrepid field producers and all of this, obviously, you'll let us know too. But whoever gets the information first, we'll let the other know. And right now, Torneo de Tejas, nothing on the board yet that I could find in a very, very rudimentary search, as you trust me to try to find things on the interwebs. So there you go. Okay, let's see. Morning, Michael. And so Michael teasing us all. Michael, for those that may not know, Michael gets to spend a couple days a week out at a golf course here in the eastern sections of SDH HQ. And so what Michael will do is he will listen to the show while he's marshaling on the golf course and telling people, no, you can't do that. It's lift, clean in place. Get your cart back on the cart path, those kinds of things. So he gets to do the morning shift there, and it's always fun and jealous from my perspective that he gets to do that. So morning, Ricky, morning, Abby, morning, Michael, morning, Alex, and morning, David. All right, opening kickoff. In addition to Torneo de Tejas, yes, it is Jason's birthday. And so my question to all of you this morning, and like I said, and this will be something that we can run through the show. What's your favorite Jason call or moment in the years that we've done Atlanta United, and that you've heard him on 92.9 The Game? What's your favorite Jason moment that you got to hear on radio? So that's opening kickoff. It's an open question for the show, and we'll have all the responses, and we'll let everybody know and share notes and all that kind of stuff. But what's your favorite Jason moment? Since today's his birthday, as he gets ready for yet another season of Atlanta United soccer, what's your favorite Jason call or moment that you've heard over the last decade? So that's the question. That's opening kickoff. I want to know what your answer is. I mean, it could be, however, could be Brad Gazan got decked. Could be when you won, when Atlanta United won MLS Cup, and what Jason was able to let everybody know about the history, everything coming forward from Dick Cecil and the Chiefs and the first incarnation, all the history lessons that that we are privy to with him. And I will say this, and I will be the first person to admit this and the first person to say it. I learn more from Jason on a daily basis, and I mean, I'm the better for it because coming into SDH here to season 10 when we started this, wow, it's crazy to think this is our 10th season. But, when we started this, I covered it, and I still do, with us here from a stories perspective. The history lesson and the history lessons and all that stuff, I have my bits and pieces. When it comes to the world game, that's when I defer to Jarrett and Nick and Jason because their history, they've loved it since day number one. I remember my first exposure to it was North American Soccer League, Pele's last match, and I remember it was on Wide World Sports, and I was in the back room of my grandparents' house, and I was watching it because my grandfather, if I was watching soccer, he would have sat there and said, "Man, what the hell are you watching?" One of those kind of things. So Pele's last match, that was like my first exposure to it. And I was a casual person because of what the Chiefs and the attack were doing. And one of my first NASL matches in person was the California Surf and the Washington Diplomats. And then from there, it was the Chiefs and the Dips at Fulton County Stadium. So the North American Soccer League for me, that was probably my in. And then you had the Georgia Generals and Star Spangled Soccer at DeKalb Memorial Stadium and the Attack indoors and the Chiefs indoors with David Byrne and all the successes, Graham Tutt, Mike Balson, all of that. But for me, it was more covering it than it was in, listing and watching and having that history base. With Jason, his brain is, 9 gazillion times when it comes to the sport. He's got more information in there than I do. But for the history of it here, it's Jarrett, it's Nick, it's Jason. And to learn about the game itself, with all of the intricacies and the rules and strategy and such, that's where I get to pick his brain on a daily basis when it comes to this stuff. So I am profoundly blessed to have him in my life as it is. And it's not just about SDH, but it's about all the other stuff too. But just wanted to, in that vein, wish him a happy birthday. So it's another trip around the sun as we are here in season 10 of SDH, and we got a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be coverage of DeKalb County Media Day on Saturday. We're going to get some tape there, and we'll have that for Red Clay. Red Clay Wednesdays, the noontime show for our high school schedule. That's going to come back next week. Yeah, we've got our high school schedule actually starting next week. And it is the sprint. And because this is a year of what it is, Jason will always come up with a schematic and a master schedule of, what we're doing in this year. This year, because it's a World Cup year, 5 pages. That's our itinerary, 5 pages right now. And we are just getting started in it. So it is, it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a long year for season number 10, but wouldn't have it any other way. So happy birthday to Jason. And I want to, like I said, I want to know what your favorite Jason moment is from the time that he's been covering Atlanta United, or it could be something from Intersection, Atlanta Soccer Tonight, filling in for any of the other shows at 92.9 The Game, anything like that. What's your favorite Jason moment from the on air? That's my birthday question for him, and for you to work your brain here for opening kickoff. So that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. So that is, y'all will have to sample that for me. I'm not a coffee person, so you'll have to let me know what Black Pitch Coffee tastes like. And can't thank them for being a part of anything and everything that we have going on here at SDH. So let's see. So Ricky, the sound that he made on the Barco goal in New England, there's usually like an ooh that'll drift in there somewhere. Let's see. High school golf has already started. Man. Yep, and they're hitting a lot longer and straighter than I ever could. I mean, you got kids these days, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I can hit it, no lie. I can hit it between 250 and 320. Just depends on the situation and what hole I'm on, because usually it takes me to about 13 before I get everything rolling. But yeah, these kids with their technology today, it is just crazy what they're able to do. I can't afford the technology, so that's why I'm still using the very basic golf balls, very basic tees, and used or recycled, whatever. They're used clubs, but still trying to figure out how to learn how to use them too. But yeah, not jealous or nothing. So there you go. All right. So CONCACAF Champions League. It was day 2, the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the Triple C. We had that last night, and it was an interesting night early, and it was a challenging one late. Let's put it that way. And it was one of those situations where you had where CONCACAF was concerned. It was one of those nights where you have your defending champ coming through, and it's going to be one of their moments to try and figure out, okay, where are we in their setup? So remember, night number 1, goalless draw in 16-degree weather in Hamilton, Ontario, Forge and Tigres. Club America gets a goal late to knock off Olympia 2-1. San Diego beat Pumas 4-1. So then the first match last night was Selejeu and Monterrey, and we did the soccer over there analysis of the club Selejeu, and it was fun to find out about them last night, and the Super Goats, Club Selejeu against Monterrey. And so you end up with a game that was pretty tight. You're going 45 minutes, and you're thinking, okay, Monterrey's, they haven't put a goal on the board yet. Selejeu, they're hanging in there defensively, and then Monterrey makes a triple change, 20 minutes to go, and Selejeu is still hanging in there. But then 83rd minute, you end up with that moment where could it be that the underdog actually has a shot? And they're the first ones on the board. Here's how it sounded thanks to our friends at CONCACAF and FS2.
Reyes. Gonzalez across and the header, and it's in! Selejeu have scored!
And so Selejeu scores. That was one version. And so let's go to the other version. From our friends at 2-NA and CONCACAF, here was how Selejeu ended up 1-0 in the 83rd minute at home. Hot crowd going up against a grande in Monterrey.
Como en una narración histórica. Sí, nos decían, no, esa fue de liga.
Sí, ese fue que termina diciendo ¿qué hiciste? Chupete, sí. ¿Qué hiciste?
Servicio al área. ¡Escobar! ¡Escobar! ¡Gol! ¡De Xelajú! ¡El Joffre! ¡Escobar! La contra de los Chivos del Xelajú. Le esperaron toda la noche. Le salió Escobar y de cabeza. Los Chivos del Xelajú 1. Rayado 0.
Y ni siquiera es de cabeza, porque vas a ver la repetición. Remata con la cabeza, pero la pelota le pega, me parece, en la rodilla. Reclaman un fuera de juego, hay que ver. No sé si existe. El centro es muy bueno. Obviamente hay deficiencias en la marca de Aguirre y ahí está la clara fortuna. Él remata, la pica y la pelota le pega en la rodilla. Insisto, el centro es espectacular.
¡Autoasistencia, Rafa!
Con mucha fortuna, sí, está claro, nada que hacer para Mele, porque obviamente la pelota toma otra velocidad a partir de ese accidente. Increíble, ¿no?
Nunca en mi vida había visto un gol así, Rafael. Se autoasistió Escobar.
Incredible, no? Yes, it absolutely was. Joffre Escobar scores in the 83rd minute. Once again, thanks to our friends at 2-NA and CONCACAF. So Monterrey had a chance in the 7th minute. Mojica goes off the bar. You don't have anything until you get to the 83rd minute. Joffrey Escobar gets that header, and they're saying the copy said it was a powerful header. It was powerful enough that he made first contact with his head, and it went straight down off his quad and goes into the net. So it was it was one of those where it was kind of like a dink dink, and it goes in. So you end up with that right there in the 83rd. So Javier Gonzalez to Joffrey Escobar, 83rd minute, and you're thinking that the Super Goats could get out of there with an advantage. But once again, this is where you pick up your Ticonderoga number 2 pencil, and you go to 90 plus 2. And this is the way it traditionally is, where you end up with these, these 5-12 or the 4-13s or the 3-14 matchups, like we call them in college basketball. You end up with a moment like this at 90 plus 2, people. 90 plus 2. Once again, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and FS2.
Allows Reyes the freedom on the sides. Good cross. And the header coming from a defender. Top of the box. Space. Oh, what a strike! The equalizer! It's the legend himself.
Jesus Corona with an absolute rocket from outside the box at 90 plus 2. And that means that it is 1-1 going back to Estadio BBVA in Monterrey on the 11th. So 6 days time. And so since they got the longer wait in match day 1, they get the shorter wait in match day 2. So on the 11th, the ones that were 2 nights ago, they get the 12th. Last night's get the 11th. And so you end up with 6 days or 7 days, because yesterday was the 4th. So 7 days, you end up with Estadio BBVA getting the second leg, tied at 1. Selaju was right there. The Super Goats were right there, people. And so it'll be a tough test for them heading into that building. I would anticipate that the juice boxes in that particular matchup are going to be rather large. So you'll end up with it is going to be a tall task for the Super Goats as they head to Monterrey for leg number 2 in round number 1, Selaju and Monterrey. That was the early one. Your nightcap was in Langley, BC, and it was Vancouver FC that made their way into the tournament. And it was for them, obviously, one of those moments for a franchise like this where you end up with qualification into the Triple C. They're at Willoughby Stadium, and it was one of those where you were, as a team, Vancouver has struggled in play. They did not make the postseason. Last year in the CPL, they only won 4 matches out of 28. They had a goal difference of minus 22. They finished 8th in the league. Didn't qualify for the playoffs, but they qualified for the Triple C. And their first opponent, obviously, it's Cruz Azul. And so you end up with you end up with this with one of those 116 matchups. And it is for Vancouver. It's a great moment for the franchise, but you have a 1 versus a 16. The defending champs get to go to Willoughby Stadium in Langley, BC, and take on Vancouver FC. For the first 20 minutes, Vancouver FC was hanging in there. And it was, you could see that Vancouver FC, they were defensive and trying to make sure that the game would not leave their control. And you end up with a very competitive, 60 minutes. There were 20 minutes. There were chances for Cruz Azul. Vancouver FC was standing straight, and everything was fine in the first 20 minutes. And then you end up with this moment being the first one of a long night for Vancouver FC early in the 20s. Once again, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF. And actually, CONCACAF and won soccer for this one.
Much as Vancouver would love to give one for their supporters tonight, keeping Cruz Azul off the board, as much of a long shot as that would be. would be priority objective number one. POV to the wing, shot from just inside the box, and Irving dove where he thought the ball would land. A fortunate deflection for Cruz Azul, and it's powered into the gaping goal mouth. The reigning champions draw first blood in this tie right on the mark of quarter time in Langley.
Well, Adam, I just spoke about this in the last couple of minutes. Cruz Azul attacks wide.
And that's the beauty of when you have your own tournaments. Because of Vancouver FC making it all the way to the tournament final in the ConChamp, that was how they qualified. You end up knocking off a couple of champs and some big names along the way. You get to the final in the Canadian Championship, and then you get into the Triple C. So if you were to ask anybody in Vancouver, you know, they're not going to lie. That was a long season last year. But then you get a cup run. And, you know, legitimately, like if you think about it like maybe a George Mason or something like that, or it's probably, well, I mean, if you were to think of it like one of those teams that comes in the round of the round of Tuesday games in Dayton, Ohio, and they make a deep run in the tournament that we get to pay attention to in March, where we have all the madness. Think of it like that. Someone comes in that first four, and they make a deep run. That's kind of what you got with Vancouver FC in the ConChamp last year to get them into the Triple C this year. And they knew it was going to be a long slog. You know, they knew it was going to be a long night. You know, you get that chance, and it's there and everything. And you end up with about 20,000 people showing up in the championship game where they go up against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So it's been a busy season for them. You end up with this kind of a result. And once again, you're talking about having to do things early. You're about a month ahead of time when it comes to your normal planning. And by the end of it all, it would be a 3-0 win for Cruz Azul. And it was a long night by the end of it for Vancouver. It was 2-0 in the 40s, and then they get a third. And so you end up with Vancouver showing up a pretty decent crowd there in Langley, BC, late last night, our time. But 3-0 win for the 16 seed, if you want to put it in that kind of a parlance. But here after the match is Captain Mateo Campagna, after what they learned in this matchup, after what happened last season. They're running the ConChamp to get them to tonight, losing, although they did lose 3-0. Campagna thought there were a lot of takeaways from it, once again, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and One Soccer.
Obviously, a tough match against a tough opponent. What did you take away from this match?
Yeah, good team. I think obviously the best team in North America. I think for our first game, there's a lot of positives, and obviously conceding 3 is something we're not happy with. But I think just the start of the games, we got to start better. I think as a group, and I think it takes time to get the collective efforts together. But I think even in the second half, I think we showed more confidence and realize what kind of team we need to be against Cruz Azul, top team. But for our first match, like, we just got to keep giving the effort, and obviously there's a second leg. You know, you never know what could happen, and we'll take the positives that we learned from this game and use it in the next.
What are some of those positives that you could take? Obviously a good crowd tonight. You guys fought hard. Took a while for you to get broken down. Like, what are some of those positives?
I think being a team that's more comfortable on the ball. We worked a lot of that in our preseason so far. I think we got to show that confidence in front of the fans. You know, I think last year that wasn't our strength, and obviously we have a team that we brought in and made moves in the offseason, and think we can be a good team that plays good football. But I think we just got to play to the strengths that Cruz Azul is kind of giving us in these games. You know, if we know we're not going to get the ball as much, then we'll adapt to that. You know, we have a lot of fast guys, and we can use opportunities in the higher attack. So, but I think, yeah, using the confidence and the grit. Defensively, showing the grit. We know, like, they're not going to make it easy for us, and even for defensively, you know, the guys who make hard runs and stuff like that, but you give them a little nudge. It's just the smarter stuff. But I think everyone's learning a bit more each game, and playing these high-level games is something you want at the end of the day. So, yeah.
To that point, just how important is leg 2? You get that opportunity to go down to Mexico to face these guys again. Just how important of an opportunity is that as well?
Super important, I think, for all the young guys, but for us as a team, and looking forward to the CPL season. But focus is there now. We still got a job to do. You know, I think we can do it, and I think it's going to be a tougher situation. You know, it's always tough to play down there, but sometimes when it's harder, you play better. Your team's more hungry. I think the hungriest team wins, and I think this team has a lot of grit and determination to do well, and I think we can get a job done. We just got to keep focused and get better every day and prepare well. So,
Thank you.
Mateo Campagna, defender for Vancouver FC, and Campagna is one of the players on that roster that is garnering interest overseas. There are a couple of players that there was a 16-year-old that had been sold by Vancouver FC for the largest ever transfer fee in club history. And so you have a team that a couple of seasons ago was kind of started on the hop, and they're still trying to get their legs about them. They had a long season last year, make that run through the ConChamp, had a coaching change, and so they're working with these young, talented players to try to turn things around in the Canadian Premier League, but they get to see what they have going into this, going into the ConChamp with the time that really should be spent in training camp. So it's a interesting petri dish for Vancouver FC, losing 3-0 last night late to Cruz Azul, your defending champs, in basically what I would term as the 1/16 matchup in the Canadian in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the Triple C. It's like ConChamp and C's, and all these C's are running through my head. Anyway, so that's what you're staring at with CONCACAF. Couple of scares, and I will ask the question to Niko Moreno when he comes in about an hour. It seems like to me that in these early games where the higher seed is on the road, the definitive favorite is on the road, that if obviously your underdog has that result, you can take that momentum with you. But if it's a game that's tight, close, there's always that moment late. And we saw it in the Selaju match last night where the Grande always finds a way. They always find a way for that equalizer. 90+2, you get an equalizer from a Grande last night. So it's, hanging in there and hanging in there and hanging in there, but you have that moment. And that's how the difference is, it seems, at the end of the two legs for the Grandes in this tournament. They always find that moment on the road if it's tight, and then they take care of business at home. Vancouver Whitecaps, the Whitecaps version, they went on the road last season as a part of their run, and they proved that being on the road was kind of a refreshing change for them, and they took care of business, and they made the advances that they made all the way through. So, the Whitecaps making that kind of a run going against type, where we've seen a lot of the Grandes have that moment late in most of the tournaments, and they end up getting that draw to take it home where all they have to do is get the win, and then they advance. Okay, that's your Conca update, your ConcaChampions update. And like I said, we'll probably talk to Niko about that a little bit more about an hour from now as we go through what he thought about in those first 5 matchups, specifically involving the tournament big dogs as are there. So we had I think it was the left-hand side of the bracket. Let me double check this because it's going to drive me crazy if I can't figure out what side of the bracket you're staring at when it comes to the CONCACAF, the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. So your club competitions, all right, you hit the marker. Now your bracket. You're looking at Toluca, who had been preceded. And so here's the bracket, just for qualification's sake. So you've got Toluca, who has been preceded, and they get the winner of Pumas and San Diego. Right now, San Diego, with their big advantage, they're at +3, and they go on the road to Pumas. All they have to do is hang on. So then you have also you've got a preceded moment involving the team of the round of 16, where in the round of 16. You got teams like Mount Pleasant and Seattle and Toluca and Messi and friends. They're the 4 that were in Seattle. So Mount Pleasant, Seattle, Toluca, Messi and friends, Alajuelense. Those are the ones that have made their way through into the round of 16. They got the first round bye. And so Mount Pleasant, having been preceded, they get the winner of the LAG match. And this is the crazy part here, is that you have next week, you have the next go round with Defense Force in Philly, Atletico Ottawa and Nashville playing in Hamilton. You have Real España and LAFC. O&M FC taking on Cincinnati at the Estadio Cibao. Sporting SM in Penonomé taking on LAG. And so you've got that go-around coming up next. So the 17th and the 18th is where you end up with this next bit. 11th and 12th is the completion of what's going on with Pumas, San Diego, Club América Olimpia, Tigres, and Forge. That's on the 10th and the 11th. Also, Monterrey and Celaju's on the 11th. Cruz Azul Vancouver's on the 12th. Then the 17th and 18th is the left-hand side of the bracket and all the other points, where you have Cartagena's taking on Whitecaps, Defense Force taking on Philly, O&M and FC Cincinnati, Sporting and LA Galaxy, Atletico Ottawa, Nashville, Real España, LAFC. That's 17th, 18th, and 19th. And so you sit there and you're weaving your way through the brackets and trying to find out, okay, what's it looking like? LAG and Sporting is going to take on Mount Pleasant. So I think the winner of that one might have a way to take on Toluca in the round of 8. Cruz Azul and Vancouver. Winner of that one gets Monterrey and Celaju. Alajuelense, who had been preceded, gets the winner of Real España and LAFC. Cartagena's in Vancouver is going to take on Seattle. So legitimately, you could have Cascadia happen low right of the bracket in the next round. You have Cincinnati and O&M going up against Tigres and Forge. You've got Philly and Defensa and America and Olympia. That one could be interesting. And then you have Miami taking on the winner of Nashville and Atletico Ottawa. Reserving comment on that. Miami and Nashville. If they get past Atletico Ottawa, you could have Miami and Nashville, Messi and friends in Nashville, going against each other in the round of 16. So the early groups, you'll have some ideas, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then you go to 17, 18, 19 as it all works its way through in February. So that's where you are with CONCACAF. Fill out your brackets carefully, as always. Okay. Everything else, and we're getting some early returns. Morning local and morning pars. The visceral, yes. Since it's Jason's birthday, I have asked what your favorite reactions and moments are with Jason. And so probably pass them along, and then pass them along to him on his social media too. And so Ricky's like the visceral reaction to filthy goals, the woo. Jeff Lorenowitz on Campeones Cup. Ooh, yes. One of those. Those are always fun. So that's basically opening kickoff carrying through the show this morning. It is making sure that since it's Jason's birthday, that we celebrate it appropriately and ask what your favorite moments are. Okay, U17s turning quickly. The U17s are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the CONCACAF U17 World Cup qualifiers. Starting today, 6 o'clock, FS2. And it is 3 matches in a 6-day period. St. Vincent and the Grenadines today, then at St. Kitts and Nevis Saturday night, and then on the 10th, that would be Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they wrap up group stage with the Dominican Republic. Going into this tournament, obviously there are a lot of thoughts looking at one thing and one thing only: World Cup qualifying. And so here are the words of Alex Aldaz, the head coach for the U17s, about the anticipation while they were training in Kansas City, getting ready for World Cup qualifiers.
We always talk about every journey we have, every camp we have, treating it as an experience for growth and development. Really embracing it, loving it, enjoying the process, expecting the expected and controlling the controllables, and really being resilient. And that's what we've always talked about from day one. The group of players that we've selected and that are with us for this camp love competing. They relish challenge. Everyone that's part of camp understands why we're here. Of course, when we step onto the field to train and to compete, those are the moments where you see an extra level of alertness and focus to obtain our objective, which is to qualify.
Head coach Alex Aldaz of the U17s. Thanks to our friends at US Soccer for that. And if you are just a casual watcher, looking at this as, part of your buzzing through, you want to see something live soccer, and then you pass by and you stop. Keep an eye out between the sticks. Remember, James Donaldson for Atlanta United 2 and Atlanta United is a part of this U17 roster. You have a lot of MLS attached players in the U17s. All three keepers are attached to MLS teams. James Donaldson, Keller Abbott from the Crew, Matthew White from Philadelphia Union. Then you have defenders you have attached to Houston Dynamo, Tyson Espy, who is attached to USL Championship Club, Orange County. You have Prince Forfor with Columbus, Aston Mbaye attached to AC Milan, and Liam Veyrostek from FCD, Edward Chadwick, currently unattached out of Los Angeles. Midfielders, Vicente Garcia, LAG, Peter Molinari with NYCFC, Rocco Pijar with the Fire, Paul Sokolov from Red Bulls, Cadron Spivey from San Jose, Landry Walker from San Antonio FC. So 2 players in the U17s attached to USL Championship teams as well. Forwards, Matteo Di Morelli from Houston, Miles Gardner from Houston, Malik Jakupovic from the Union, Aaron Medina from LAG, Max Steelman from LAG, William Ostrander from PSV Eindhoven. So LAG's represented well. Houston Dynamo represented well. I think it's 10 separate teams that are attached to Major League Soccer franchises. And like I said, we had the 2 that are attached to the USL Championship, which was really cool to sit there and then kind of, embrace a little bit. And so you're looking at this particular group. Once again, this is the first step toward looking at the U17 World Cup in Qatar. 48 teams, and that's going to be in November. The 8 group winners from CONCACAF qualify for the tournament. And if the U.S. do this, if they do qualify, it is their record 20th appearance in this tournament for the U17s. And so once again, all of these are on FS2. And the way that this works, once again, if you're born on or after New Year's Day 2009, you're age eligible. And all but one of the 21 players selected were born in 2009. Vicente Garcia, attached to LAG, was born in 2010. And so you have the groups that are here, the groups as they're listed: Mexico, TNT, Barbados, and St. Martin. So they have St. Martin and St. Martin in one group. Panama, Nicaragua, Guadalupe, Anguilla, and Dominica. Haiti, Guatemala, Antigua, Barbuda, Grenada. Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, and this is a tough group. Costa Rica and Puerto Rico, that one's going to be a tough one. British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos. Group E is where the U.S. is, with the Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. It's going to come down to the Dominican Republic match day last. El Salvador, Curacao, Cuba, Belize. Canada, Jamaica, Aruba, and the Caymans in Group G. Honduras, Bermuda, Guyana, and Suriname. That's Group H. There are a couple of these groups. Obviously, you look at the USA and the Dominican Republic, match day last in Group E. Canada, Jamaica in Group G. You've got Puerto Rico, Costa Rica in Group D. Panama, Nicaragua in Group B. Mexico, TNT in Group A. Outside chance maybe for Barbados. So there's very, very interesting dynamics at play for the U17s as they are chasing after their 20th appearance in the World Cup. And so once again, 8 teams qualify, the top team in each group. And it is going to be all played at the same stadium. That, to me, is going to be interesting. What's this stadium going to look like at the end of it? What's that grass going to be like? And once again, this is part of the Federation's focus on the U.S. way philosophy, increased programming for youth national teams to create more opportunities for players through advanced pathways to senior national teams, representing clubs at the World Championships. 14 clubs, 10 MLS, 3 each Houston Dynamo, LAG, which is what I thought. 2 from Columbus Crew, 2 from Union, and 11 players have seen professional action in Next Pro and USL Championship. 34 teams, 8 groups. 6 different countries, knockout stage contested. Each of the 8 group winners gets to go to Qatar in November. So keep an eye out for that. So once again, this is a busy as you know what year when it comes to soccer. Nationally, internationally, league, everything. And it's just mashing together. So starting now, get your rest. Get your rest, people. That's the best way I can phrase it. Get your rest now because you are probably going to need it. But once again, today is when it starts for the United States. Kingstown, and that is Kingstown St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Arnis Vale Stadium in Kingstown. 6 o'clock tonight, Group E. U.S. St. Vincent and the Grenadines taking on the home side for this particular group. And so once again, keep an eye on this one. Keep an eye out for James Donaldson. We're going to effort to see if we can try and find some time to catch up with folks attached to the U17s between now and the end of group, and we'll find out what's going on. We'll see if we can effort some stuff out of this. Now I've got my thinking cap on, trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? So we'll try and figure out how do we do this and work our way forward. Okay, a couple of news and notesy things before we catch up with our buddy Nino Torres to start off the Around the World in 60 Minutes that we have with the Power Hour. And the first thing that I wanted to get into here was the Gummy Bear Cup. And you're going, Nelson, why are you talking about the Gummy Bear Cup? Here's why. According to, and this is various stories, but we're going to stick with Jamie Jackson and Paul McInnes at The Guardian. The EFL, Pep Guardiola is pushing for Mark Gahey to play in the Carabao Cup final. But there is a current rule that is attached to the cups where any player that you have on your roster has to be registered before the semifinals. Mark Gahey, obviously, because of the transfer deadlines and the dates of acquisition, was not. And so Pep Guardiola questioned the rule, which means that Gahey obviously can't be in March's final, and said that City would ask the EFL to reconsider, and there will be no change to a regulation introduced before this season, according to The Guardian. City reached a win with a 3-1 semifinal leg win over Newcastle, 5-1 aggregate. Sorry, Alex. Add to the 2-0 result from the first leg back on the 13th. Gahey wasn't eligible because he joined City on January 19th. EFL Cup rule 6.4.2, and we all have to memorize that number now going forward, states that a player can represent two clubs in the trophy if he joins the second club before the semifinal first leg. Antoine Semenyo was eligible because he joined on January 9th. Gahey joining 10 days later means no. Pep Guardiola, when asked about it, said, quote, I told the club we must ask. Hopefully we can convince the Carabao Cup that Mark can play the final. I don't understand why he cannot play the final. Hopefully we make a letter. You buy a player for a lot of money and he's not able to play for a rule. I don't understand. Hopefully they can change it. Asked if he was hopeful, Guardiola said no. To change the rule, no way. Before the season, players were allowed to feature in the Gummy Bear Cup for only one club in a campaign. This is the chance for Pep to get a fifth trophy in this tournament. Quote, many of us, including me, were really happy to come back to the final. For many players that have never been in the final, Gummy Bear Cup, we call it the Carabao Cup, or a final with this club, it's a good thing to experience that. Goals came from Marmoush, Tiani Reinders. Then Newcastle gets a goal by Anthony Elanga after the break. And obviously, Eddie Howe disappointed. Anthony Gordon forced off before the break. Eddie Howe concerned about that going forward. Set your fantasy teams appropriately. Quoting Eddie Howe, he goes, it looks like a hamstring problem, a big worry. Bernardo Silva is a doubt for City's trip to Liverpool on Sunday because of a muscle injury. We'll go over juice boxes tomorrow for everything going on overseas that we need to kind of keep an eye out for. So he wants the rules changed when it comes to the Gummy Bear Cup. I don't quite see it happening. But half of the battle is sitting there and saying, you know, this is something that needs to be changed or looked at. Because if you don't say for a double negative, if you don't say something doesn't need to be looked at, then they won't look at it. So Pep Guardiola is taking that first step and going, you know, I think we ought to look at this. Answer is probably going to be no, but at least you've asked the question and you've gone through the machinations of sitting there and addressing a rule. So that's the interesting element in all of that. 22nd trip to Wembley under Guardiola, by the way. 22nd trip. Transfer news, it looks like just overseas. Celtic in advanced talks with Arsenal and Liverpool for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's a free agent, could undergo a medical later today. Sky revealed Celtics' interest in him earlier this week. Manager Martin O'Neill confirming he had talks with the player in his press conference, in O'Neill's press conference, not Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's, back on Tuesday. Training with Arsenal since mutually terminating his contract with Besiktas back in August. So that is the latest there when it comes to that particular storyline. Now, let's take a peek and see if anything went down in Major League Soccer transactions-wise over the last day that everybody needs to be kept abreast of. And once again, you're still looking at roster assembly, and you're looking at, okay, who's going to be going where. There were some signings that happened across the board. But just to let you know what happened yesterday, back on Tuesday, really, the Elias Baez signing for Atlanta United officially official. Is going to be taking up a U22 slot. And according to published reports, could be a week, maybe two, before Baez comes into the country because, once again, you're looking at P1 visa. You're looking at in the ITC. Giuseppe Bovalina goes from Vancouver on loan to Örebro in Scandinavia. Morgan Gilavogi goes to Real Salt Lake from Lens. It's a transfer, and it's going to be a DP signing. Matusz Komet comes from Minnesota United, goes to FKDAC 1904, Dunajska Streda. Say that 10 times fast. It's a loan deal. Geiner Martinez, transfer from Juventud to help out the back line in Philly. 7-figure deal there on the transfer. Wyatt Meyer and Jaden Reed go from Nashville and St. Louis City SC to Sporting. So Sporting, and David Lee had mentioned, a couple of weeks ago when we were catching up with Daniel Sperry, that they were looking to add 10 to 12 more folks to their roster. And it's going to be interesting to see what this rush looks like with all of these groups. Overseas, Jean Duran is terminating a loan, and it looks like he's going to be joining his third team in a year. Duran's going to join Zenit on loan after leaving Fenerbahce after he'd been on a season-long loan from his parent club, Al Nassr. Terminated his spell at Fenerbahce to head to Zenit until the end of the season. Temporary move does not include an option to make the deal permanent. Zenit, second in the Russian Premier League, 1 point behind Krasnodar, could make his debut following the winter break at home to Baltica on February 27th. 11-time league champs. They've won 6 in a row. Zenit also have won UEFA Cup back in 2008. Haven't played in Europe in 22 because of UEFA's ban with Russian teams. Third new club for Duran since leaving Aston Villa for Al Nassr in January of last year. So in 13 months, 3 clubs, technically 4 if you include Aston Villa. So you go Aston Villa, Al Nassr, and then you go Fenerbahce and Zenit for Jean Duran. So that one, keep an eye on that one. USL Championship quickly. Charleston Battery acquired All-League defender Nathan Messer from Portland Hearts of Pine, USL League One Defender of the Year. Last season, All-League first team for Portland in 25. And so he's going to be joining Ben Pierman's squad. 32 matches, 6+4, 44 chances created, 132 clearances, 150 duels won, 29 interceptions. Ranked third among fullbacks in the league with a goals added mark of plus 5.31. Key performances in Open Cup, had a goal in the tournament, and converted in the penalty shootout, and that upset win over Hartford Athletic in the second round. Obviously, Ben Pierman happy to bring in Nathan Messer now from Portland Hearts of Pine. So that's another quick move for them. For Charleston, as they're getting ready for the season coming up in short order as well. So keep an eye on all of that, and keep an eye on your favorite teams and on your favorite clubs and where we are from there. Let's check. And once again, the question that I asked today, since it's Jason's birthday, what's your favorite calls and moments with Jason? Pars says, I think mine would be anytime he calls out Ted Uncle for bad calls. Not wrong. I mean, when Jason goes through the rule book, if you go back and listen to However in St. Louis, then you end up with Mike and Jason walking through the rule book, walking through what VAR should and shouldn't do. And then you go back and listen to However and the lead up where Mike and Jason had it. Then you end up with However. And then it was 7 minutes of radio conversation with Mike and Jason as they're trying to walk through everything. And then you end up with the moment where you end up with, however, and then Mike's going, yeah, however. So you end up with those kinds of moments too as well. So always fun to learn from Jason and Mike. But yeah, it's Jason's birthday, so that's why I was asking kind of an opening kickoff that works its way all the way through about favorite moments with Jason, what you enjoy about him the most when he is discussing the sport of soccer online, those kinds of things. So that was for me. That was an easy opening kickoff question today. All right. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We've already talked about the U17 tournament. That's going to be on FS2. And the what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps them, helps us, helps you. Adding more matches to everything you're already watching. Fanatis, you get all the BNs, and I mean all the BNs. So you're getting CAF Champions League. You're getting the Polish League, the French League, French Cup, all points in between. A lot of the action with Tigo Sports and CATV. You're getting a lot of leagues in South America. You have TVV, CDO, CDO2. You have TIC out of Argentina. I'm watching second and first division stuff out of Paraguay and Uruguay. Libertadores Sudamericanos coming up. So don't be surprised if Howard Hamilton starts up for the 2026 editions of the Copa Libertadores show. You get TIC, Argentina, more leagues across South America, all in one place. One subscription, one home at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. So you got more cup games in Europe today. And it is Portuguese Cup at 3:45, Libertadores with Juventud and Universidad Católica at 7:30. We mentioned the qualifiers with the U.S. at 6, Fox Deportes, French Cup, league we don't talk about, at 12:30. ESPN Plus already had A-League. They've got Copa del Rey, Real Betis, Atletico de Madrid at 3. Fox ONE, French Cup simulcast, and the league we don't talk about. Fox Soccer Plus, league we don't talk about. Paramount Plus, Copa Italia is at 3. Atalanta and Juve. English League 2, Accrington, Stanley, and Salford City. That one's at 3 o'clock. And then you have, on the women's side, you have Fox Deportes. You have Liga MX, Liga MX Femenil. 8 o'clock, you have Juarez and America, Tigres and Cruz Azul at 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock tonight on the Plus is the A-League Wellington and Perth. That is at 10 o'clock tonight, and that is what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it from our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. So that's your rundown of what to watch and where to go today. But like I said, I think today's focus really is going to be it's going to be U17s late. I mean, if you want to watch the cup competitions, probably the Copa del Rey at 3, you could do that. But I think looking at the U17s and keeping an eye on James Donaldson, I think is going to be important as the U.S. tries to get out of group to qualify for the World Cup in Qatar in November in the U17s, as they're in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All right. I'm intrigued. All right. So St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I've got to figure out where it is and how you get there. Legitimately, I guess American Airlines is what they're saying off the top. So Windward Islands of the Lesser Antilles, which lie in the West Indies. And so it is literally just north of the South American continent. So that to me, how do you get there? North is St. Lucia, east is Barbados, Grenada lies to the south. How do you get to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Is it American Airlines? How do you get to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Has anybody been to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? How do you get to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Seriously. How do you, I guess American Airlines? That's what I'm staring at. A lot of folks are sitting there going, booking.com. American Airlines, okay. Flights to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Okay. All right. So literally, now get this. So if you fly, and this is once again, this is American Airlines, and this is me just kind of doing the work here. So if you fly to St. Vincent and the Grenadines from Miami, it costs you $188 more than it would if you were flying from JFK. Now, look, I'm staring at the website for the American airline, and they are telling me, they legitimately are telling me that if you fly from Miami, it costs you $178 more to fly to St. Vincent and the Grenadines than it would if you were flying directly. That if you were flying directly from JFK, it would take you $178 more to fly from Miami. Miami's closer. Miami is legitimately closer. Okay. We're going to check in with our buddy Nino Torres here and find out what's going on with the baking and his stories. And I haven't seen the stories, so I don't know what he's got on his mind. Yellow, yellow, yellow. What's going on? Where are you, sir?
Yellow, yellow, yellow. My camera. I don't know. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I hear you, but I don't see you.
Yeah, I guess. All right. I mean, I'm pressing the camera here. What are you talking about, man? Jesus. All right. Look, no camera then. What are we gonna do, man?
All right.
I'm not gonna.
It's all good.
I mean, it's been fighting with this thing for like 5 minutes, man. But we're in, so that's all that matters.
Exactly. Yes, you're in. That's all that matters. So how's the baking going, sir? I saw your newest breaking news from yesterday on Nino the Baker on Instagram.
Sure, man, I'm so happy, Johnny. I'm so happy. I just landed a deal with a restaurant. I'm gonna get my desserts. And breaking news is that I got another deal today, brother. Another deal today. They responded to me, so they say I'll be the supplier for 2 restaurants from now on. So that's that's fantastic, man.
Oh, love this. Absolutely love this for you. And now we just need to figure out how to get your desserts, I guess, Gold Belly. We got to figure out how to Gold Belly your desserts from there to here so we can sample them. That is our next quest as you continue to build your baking empire.
Yes, sir, man. We'll figure it out. We'll get the cakes there, man. We'll get you the cakes.
Yes. Okay. So I have your list. I have your list of stuff. And topic number 1, Copa Libertadores, no drama, no Copa for Alianza Lima. I saw this result. I wanted to ask you about this. I'm glad you have this as topic number 1. What happened here?
What happened is the person to not look over the shoulder to anyone, especially in the Libertadores, especially in the Copa Libertadores. You can look over the shoulder to any single team in the in South America, and they pay the price. You know, Pablo Guedes went ahead and left on the bench Eric Castillo, Paulo Guerrero. Who else was La Bandera? I mean, 5 starters on the bench. 5 starters on the bench. Yeah, we can get this through, man. We'll get it out. You know, it's 12 de Mayo. It's a Paraguayan team that is they live 500 miles away from Asunción. It's a small team. We can get this. 65 minutes on, we can't score. We can't score. Hey, Paolo, you want to jump in? Yes, sir, I want to jump in. And then you get Castillo, you want to get in? Yes, I want to get in. This is serious now. It's serious now? Okay, serious is the goal that the 12 de Mayo score on you, brother. So now they're coming home. They're coming home, having to win by 2 goals, not just by 1. That 1-0, it won't not let 12 de Mayo to score a goal on Alianza. So good luck.
Good luck. Amen. Topic number 2, Grey's Anatomy. When Boca went south again. So who is McDreamy and McSteamy in this setup?
Brother, I don't know, but it's an ER. It's an ER, an absolute ER Boca Juniors. So I'm going to give you the names, right? I'm going to give you the names of the players that they're injured. You got Jimenez, you got Hansen, you got Velasco, we got Palacios, we got Bataglia, we got Ceballos, and now Herrera. Again, Ander Herrera, the Spaniard, who I don't know, 35-year-old Spaniard, 2 Boca Juniors. Who knows what's the story behind this? Okay, but the truth of the matter is that he's injured again. He was injured like a couple of months ago, and he got injured again, and he's gonna get injured again the next time that he comes back to the pitch for Boca Juniors. A complete waste of time and money on these so-called investments. You cannot see me, guys, when I'm doing my quotation signs here. So it's insane. But I don't know, Rekeme, you were a genius on the pitch, but as a president of Boca Juniors, you're not doing so well, brother. You're not doing so well. And not all his decisions, all right, are all because he is so self-centered. It's like it's Riquelme or nothing. Ugh. So if he doesn't have the vote, if he doesn't have the say in it, he doesn't have a blueprint on every single transaction for Boca Juniors, it's not Riquelme, it's not Boca. And results are there, no titles. And they're not gonna go deep into the competition with the almighty Brazilians who already added Paquetá, Memphis Depay, all the they just it's unfair, Johnny, man. I'm sorry, it's just unfair that these Brazilian teams are getting. Oh, you know what? Let me bring Lucas Paquetá, man. You want to spend? You got 42 mil to spare? Yeah, I think I got it. I think I can drop a 42 mil on that. You got 24 mil to do? Yeah, I can bring that guy. You got that Portuguese guy, Luis Castro, who played for Braga. How much? 15. Get it on. So we were struggling for players for 1.5, 1.2. Oh, that's a big money. No, it's not.
No,
it's not big money.
No.
So, sorry, Boca, you're gonna again this year. Johnny, I know the topic was Boca, but we want to transition into the Copa Libertadores. That is, it's Brazilians. We can't compete with them. We can't compete with them.
I mean, I figured this is your segment. It's your 20 minutes. You can go wherever you want when it comes to it. But you mentioned this, and Jason mentioned this in Morning Espresso. 2026, water breaks are trendy and official in the CONMEBOL Copas. We saw this morning. Please elaborate, sir.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's more. You know what's the concerning part about this decision, Johnny? Is that it's not a concern for the players. No, it's not. It's not that. Is that now Copa Libertadores? Now we saw yesterday in the Alianza Lima game versus 2 de Mayo. They got the cameras in there, right? So they can catch. Oh, we want to catch the momentum, right? What the coaches are saying to the players. We don't care about the water break for the players. What do you get a water break at nighttime? What's the point of getting a water break time? Nothing. There's no point. There's no point. You get a water break with 95 degrees out, but no. This is a decision on marketing and nothing else. But a 90-second break in the second half, so they can get the cameras in what the coaches are saying. No, because we care about the integrity of the players in a really hot game with 95 hydrated. No, it's not about that, brother. It's about the cameras. It's about said that they said it. We love the cameras. We love what the coaches are saying. They say that. Can you believe it?
I mean, look, just tell me that you're doing it to give yourself another commercial break. I get that. That's fine. I mean, literally, if you're going to do that, just say, hey, look, we're going to do in the middle of summer, we're going to do a hydration break. And then what that does is that gives your networks and your advertisers a chance to go split screen. You can do a double box. Hey, you get the shot of the spider cam looks inside the huddle, and you see the coach sitting there with his board and everything. He's sitting there mapping everything out. And on the other one, you got your commercial. I get it. It's just how this is. But if you're going to sit there and say that, yes, in the summer months, we're going to take this hydration break, then at the same time, and while we do this, this does give our television partners a chance to, should they so choose, have an advertising opportunity in this kind of thing. So, but the fact that they openly admitted that, yeah, we're doing this to give ourselves more revenue. I mean, look, just at least if you're going to do that, just make it look like it's a hydration break. And, oh, by the way, hey, look, it's a chance for the TV network to run a commercial instead of sitting there and saying, yeah, we're doing it so we can have our revenue from more TV partners.
It's just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. And I don't know, Mr. Alejandro Dominguez, about your comic ball, but you are all right. Nothing. I'm gonna leave it there, man. Alejandro, I love you.
Okay, so we go from you doing this. I just have this vision of you kind of sitting there and blowing kisses from the dock. You're just kind of sitting there and you're going like this. And one lonely night, one lonely night, Porto lost a game. What?
Yes, sir. That day, in this case, that night finally came to fruition. Porto no longer perfect anymore. After who knows how many nights, how many months, it's just ridiculous. But this is what happens when you got a long streak. You're not ended up losing against the arch rivals. You're not ended up losing against Real Madrid. No. You ended up losing in a cold night in Casa Pia, in Rio Mayor, and against a team that hasn't been doing well for the past, I don't know how many months already for Casa Pia. But they rather lose this game now. Right, they lose this game now, then lose it later in the season, when Sporting is coming closer to you. And by the way, I'm gonna squeeze the Sporting in the conversation, because the offense of Sporting this year is absolutely, we lost Jokeris. What are we gonna do? So you bring in this Colombian guy coming from the second division, and you're gonna do what? Excuse me. What do you say about Luis Suarez? Yeah, go check it out, bro. Go check it out. Yeah, that's 18 goals already in the campaign. He is on pace to beat Victor Jokeris in terms of goals and assist participations in the conversation when I said Porto, because this is a crucial moment in the Premier League. I said that, and when you lead for as long as Porto has been leading, it's so hard for the chasers to catch you. Mm-hmm. But there might be a chance. For the first time this season, because of the incredible level that Sporting is playing, it might be a chance. Still believe that Porto is going to win, but it's not gonna be as one-sided as I thought it would be. So we'll see. But Johnny, you're looking at the table. I don't have the table here, but I think they're 4 points behind. I think, isn't it? No,
4. It is 4. Porto is by the way, the last time they lost, last time Porto lost was legitimately when they lost was League Cup quarterfinals back on December 4th. Vitória de Guimarães beat Porto 3-1. So that goes back 12 matches in all comps. If you go back to Primeira Liga, the last time they lost, period, and I'm going all the way back here. So league stage, Europa
last season.
Primera, because you're what, 18-1-1 right now, and like legitimately you drew October the 5th to Benfica. And I mean, it is like I'm back in September.
They haven't lost to anybody in the league.
I'm on like decision day. I'm in friendlies. I mean, Club World Cup. I mean, yeah, it's last year. It literally is. Last year was the last time that they lost in the Primera. And I'm trying to. Oh, okay. April the 7th, 2-1.
There you go.
To Vitória Guimarães. That was the last time they lost. April the 7th of last.
Twice in 1 year. Huh?
Yeah, and so 18-1-1, 4 points clear, 55 points. Sporting right now at 16-3-1 is at 51 points, but Porto's got that big red L brick right there. It's now 4. Let me do, before we go into World Cup Chronicles, let me take your bonus track. Bonus track is don't send him off, ref. What are you talking about here?
This is a beautiful story, man, because they back in 1993 World Cup qualifiers for the US World Cup in 94. We witnessed one of the most sensational performances of a national team in CONMEBOL. Colombia destroying Argentina in Buenos Aires 5-0 at the Monumental. And they were winning 3-0 already, right? The game was, Colombia was dominating. It was 3-0 up. And then Diego Simeone was punching people, tackling people. He thought he was playing rugby. And they came up with this horrendous foul, Johnny. I mean, it was a tackle that there was not a red card. That was a jail time for that foul. Okay, and the ref was ready to show the card, and Leonel Alvarez comes up to him and like, please, ref, don't show on the card. Don't show on the card, because if you show on the card, they're gonna say that we beat him because they were playing with a man down. Don't show in the red. Don't show in the red, please.
Wow.
And the ref was like, all right. I'm not showing the red, but you go ahead and kick some ass, please, for me.
Wow.
All right. So they ended up scoring 2 more goals.
Wow.
and they won, and they won, but the ref was like, yeah, I'm not showing the card, but you go ahead and kick some more ass of these guys.
Wow.
Man. So, yeah. That's what happened in the Monumental. The captain talking to the ref. Can you believe that? I mean, the player from the opposition don't show in the red. We would have, because we're gonna go into history as the only team in CONMEBOL in history to put 5 goals in Argentina in their home turf.
So basically, we want to use our own belt. We don't want to use your belt. We want to use our belt. We don't want you to use your belt. We want to use our belt, our leather belt on these guys. That's what we want to show. That's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was insane, man. That Colombian team was brilliant. But the thing came. I mean, they.
Oh, we might have lost him.
Man, it's so sad because it's
okay. There we go.
Barrabás.
Yeah,
Barrabás was assassinated because that own goal against the US. But that team was brilliant. They could have won the World Cup, but they just fame took a toll on them, and they believe that they won the championship before they even played. So that's their capital sin.
Yes. World Cup Chronicles this time. Story time with Nino. World Cup Chronicles. What really happened to Ronaldo in the 98 finals? World Cup Chronicles with our buddy Nino Torres. Today's topic, what really happened to Ronaldo in the 98 finals? So what really happened to Ronaldo in the 98 finals?
Crazy, right? Because we were all scared because of Ronaldo Nazario de Lima, the best player in the planet, in the galaxy in that moment, that year. He's leading his team to the finals in Paris. And all the alarms went off because Ronaldo is having a seizure. Ronaldo is having an epilepsy attack. Ronaldo is doing what in the world is happening? And then and of course all the stories saying that Nike forced Ronaldo to play because he was not game ready for the game. He was not fit ready. And all these stories about the what is this, the disease that Ronaldo was having in that World Cup. But to be nothing about a disease. It was not related to the epilepsy and not related to. This is insane, Johnny. What happened was that his sleeping position, right? He was sleeping. Who was his roomie? Roberto was his roommate, right? And so we were sleeping out playing games and stuff, and then they went to sleep. And then Ronaldo, I don't know how he laid in bed in a way that his neck touched a nerve with the system, and it causes spasms all over his body because he was shaking on the ground. It triggered, the position of his neck against the wall and against the bed trigger a nerve that causes all this chaos on his body. So, but it wasn't a disease. It wasn't epilepsy. It was just all about that.
Wow.
Because of an angle that he laid down in Paris and they scared the entire planet, including the Brazilians. But yeah, it was like that. So be careful how you sleep, man. I know you stretch before you sleep, so I know you don't have any those problems, man. But yeah, for all of you guys, including myself, I sleep with my dog. Yeah, be careful with the angle. How you lay down in bed, because it could trigger something and you don't know how to respond. But yeah, because of that, Johnny, it's unbelievable, man.
Wow,
unbelievable.
That's crazy. And so, yes, be careful how you sleep. Make sure that you know how you sleep. I want to go through juice boxes with you on the weekend before you get out of here and go make more desserts and tell whoever is honking that horn on their bicycle to stop honking the horn on the bicycle. You mentioned the life at the top. That is the last game of the week in the league, in the Liga Portugal. It is a 3:45 start on, so let's see, Monday. So it's Monday Night Football. Porto hosting Sporting. Porto is a plus 120. Draws a plus 215. Sporting on the road a plus 242. What do you think?
It's Porto Sporting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that at Porto?
Yep.
It's at Porto, right?
Yep.
So this is the record of Sporting going to Dragao. In this fantastic run of tournaments with Ruben Amorim, they beat everybody. They got all the records. They could have won a single time at Dragao. Not once under Ruben, and not once under Rui Borges yet. So there's a first time for everything. There's the streaks are made to be break. I don't think they're gonna win. I don't think the Sporting is gonna beat Porto and Dragao. I don't think so. Hopefully, I'm wrong. To all my Sportingistas out there, I've seen a draw on this one, and that's going to make this team more exciting. Dropping points again.
So he's looking,
and then but not losing the title race is going to get 4 points, right?
Yep. Okay. So it stays at 4
points. So keeping that title race tight and exciting, and so much Portuguese soccer. My God, man.
Well, that's why we get to talk
so much
about
calling it. Yeah,
I know. And That's why we talk about it here, so we can sit there and let everybody else know what's going on. All right. So, what are you baking today? How much are you baking, and what are you baking?
All right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 36 portions of chocolate cake. We got 36 of those. 2 dozens of these cabezas de indio, Indian. You check it out on my Insta. We got 2 dozens of those, and that's it for the day, man. I'm so tired, man. I've been up until 2 in the morning last night.
It's 10:30 in the morning, man. And you're already tired. He's all baked out.
Yeah, all baked out, brother. It's just insane, man. But it is what it is, man. I'm happy. I'm tired but happy. That's what it is.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we got to figure out how to get that stuff shipped up here. We love you very much. And follow Nino the Baker on Instagram as we continue breaking down stuff every single week here on the Power Hour with our buddy Nino Torres. We love you very much. Go bake, go rest, and make sure that everybody down there is 5 pounds heavier by the time they finish with your food.
Right, Johnny. Thank you, guys.
There goes Nino. Seriously, go follow Nino on his Instagram. Go follow Nino on his Instagram at Nino the Baker. And you get to see all of the different joints that he goes to, everything that he's baking. And if you look in his reels, you'll see literally what he's baking on a daily basis. And I swear to God, it is some of the most fattening looking stuff I've ever seen. It literally is some of the most fattening stuff I've ever seen. And it is, I mean, for somebody like me. Oh, and by the way, okay, so now he is sending me photos. Indian Crest. Okay, so he is sending photos. I'm going to show them to those of you who are on the video side of things. So this is literally is what Nino is baking. So let me see if I can turn it to where it's not like shining or anything like that. That's what Nino is baking right now. Those things look amazing, and I swear I could probably. I mean. And you probably end up with like what? 4 of those? Actually, no, 2 is probably a meal. But those look absolutely ridiculous. Those look absolutely ridiculous. And it is crazy. So, yeah, follow Nino on Instagram, Nino the Baker. And you legitimately will sit there and go, oh, my God, this looks amazing. And it probably is. So that's man. And just to wrap up what he was talking about with Portugal, Porto and Sporting, that is, let's see. So if today is Thursday the 5th. So, yeah, Monday Night Football is Porto and Sporting 1 versus 2. We'll try and find a place to watch it. But right now, that's number 1 versus number 2, and then everybody else is chasing. Benfica is a distant third, 13 wins and 7 draws. They haven't lost this year in league, but they've drawn 7 times. Porto's only given up 6 goals in 20 matches. They've won 18 of 20. And they're at 55 points. That big loss last time out with Casapia brings Porto back to the pack a little bit, meaning Sporting. Benfica's at 46, and then there's everybody else. Braga, 36. Gil Vicente, 34. Moreirense, 30. Estoril, Famalicão, 29 each. Vitória Guimarães at 28. Alverca is 10th at 24. And then you get into the relegation fight. 11 through 16, 6 teams separated by 3 points for the relegation playoff spot, which is currently Santa Clara. They are at 17 points. Nacional, Estrela, Rio Ave, they are all at 20 points, as is Aruca. 4 teams at 20 points, varying degrees of goal difference. And Casapia is 15th at 18 points. Santa Clara is at 17 points and 16th. And then you have Tondela and AFS. AFS has not won in 20 matches in the first 20 matches this season in the 34 match weeks. So pretty much you can sit there and say AFS is heading back down to the second division. Tondela, they're 5 points from safety. They could do something. But right now you literally have 6 teams separated by 3 points for the relegation playoff spot in Portugal. We're still looking for a place to find the Portuguese activity on a weekly basis. So But that is your rundown of everything in Portugal. But yeah, the hydration break. Jason brought that up in Morning Espresso, and that's brought to us by our friends at Oglethorpe University. And you can go to soccerdownhere.net and subscribe to it if you don't have it yet. So you can go there, and Jason has it in video form, audio form, and in newsletter form. So whichever one works for you, you can watch it, you can listen to it, or you can read it. If you want to read it, go to soccerdownhere.net and subscribe. And so Jason, when he was discussing it, under the new protocol, refs can stop play once in each half for up to 90 seconds. It's not triggered by temperature or weather conditions spelled out in the updated competition manuals for this year. It applies uniformly across matches, whether playing in heat or cool. Teams are instructed to have their players stand near their technical areas while they rehydrate, but they must remain within the field of play. Another notable aspect of it, as Nino was saying, is bringing the mics and cameras closer, enhancing the viewing experience, and that's a first for CONMEBOL match coverage. And so it is, as Jason writes, it marks a shift toward formalizing short game stoppages that were previously niche or used only in extreme heat, reflects a growing emphasis on player welfare and broadcast value, mirrors similar trends seen in other competitions where structured breaks are becoming more common. And he also mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo with what happened in the World Cup. Once again, remember, Al Nassr still have not won a league title. This is present-day Cristiano Ronaldo, CR41 that we're talking about here. So gap between him showing up and getting a trophy, that distance is getting bigger and bigger. So Ronaldo missed Al Nassr's win over Al Riyadh. No real reason given. There wasn't a health-related reason as to why. And so frustration with the winter transfer business or lack thereof. And so now Cristiano Ronaldo is trying to reinforce the urgency of winning a title in Saudi Arabia. Now, you're also looking at this. Contract runs through 27, but there is a reported £44 million release clause that could be activated this summer. Now, remember, he wanted to win a league title. He has not. Yes, being a face for the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote is a part of it. But he still wanted to come. He still wants to come and score and win titles. That's part of his DNA. And so the frustration's getting to a point, it seems, with what's going on currently with Al Nassr in that league. So keep an eye on that. And there were folks who were writing things and going, "Hey, Manchester, calm down." Yeah, just because there's a release clause doesn't mean he's heading back to Manchester United at the age of 41. So CR41, that's the latest there with him as we go. All right. It is the last half hour of the Thursday show. And that means that we go from Lima, Peru. We go to the Palouse and then hang a left. So where we catch up with our buddy Niko Moreno. And we ask Niko, first and foremost, have you been up since 4 a.m. to see this first friendly for Seattle in Spain? Have you been up that early?
Hey, it was John. I do not like the lag here. Let me know if it gets any better or if you're getting it a little too bad. But yes, SDH family, I have absolutely been up since 4 a.m. This is third cup of coffee. I've been taking some notes. I have been on the phones trying to figure out a couple of more things that I'm working on. And yeah, very active this morning, very early on. So thankfully it was a decent game for the Sounders. It was a 3-1 win. There's been a lot of talk about with Obed. So man, I'm just waiting for you to tell me which way to go, man. You called the audible. You tell me what play you want to run.
All right. So you mentioned it. So let's go ahead and start with Obed. And I know that when that hit, we ran some of the conversation that you had with Jeremiah about where it's going to be. Is it going to be, is he sticking? Is he going to be loaned out to a place like Celta de Vigo? what's the latest here in all of this progression? What are you staring at with Obed heading overseas?
Yeah, look, it's been everything has been moving extremely fast, and there was a lot of information moving back and forth. Initially, there was a thought process or a
And that would be why. Okay, so yeah, he wasn't happy with the lag, and so Niko is probably going to change his exit point, and we'll get into the discussion about Obed Vargas. And as I told him, I said, when he and Jeremiah were on Monday, and they were talking through Sounder at Heart, it was a conversation that when the news broke, it was one of those where, yeah, okay, and could go here, could stay, and it's part of the conversation that I wanted to have with him is that the last thing that you want, and we had this conversation with Bart on Monday, and I want to try to reinforce it with Niko here coming up in a sec, is that the last thing that you want in a situation like this, if he stays, is that he turns into Johnny Cardoso 2.0, where Diego Simeone was a positive with the idea of bringing in Johnny, but Johnny sat for the longest time. And so what I was explaining to folks was that when you and Jeremiah were talking about it after it broke, after the news broke and it's officially official, almost to the point to where they're holding up the jersey, that what I imagined a concern was that you don't want this to turn into Johnny 2.0, where he goes and he sits. That's the last thing he needs, especially with national team duty coming up. And so the idea of the loans was a part of your discussion in there. So all of the break down all of the Obed thoughts here as we sit there and look at it, trying to avoid sitting on a bench in a World Cup cycle.
Yeah, and so because there was some uncertainty to the level of depth that the team would have and the amount of minutes that Obed would get, in my opinion, that's where that option, that possibility of a loan came out of. And because he's a quality player, Getafe, Celta Vigo, there was quite a few teams that, were possible options, but they were running against the clock on one end, with the end of that window coming up pretty quickly, and the fact that apparently there was some still doubt about some players, both physically and then coming in. Rodrigo Mendoza was the other player that was introduced at the exact same time as Obed Vargas, plays the same position. Johnny Cardoso was brought in for $30 million, but he's had some pains and aches. He's actually unavailable for this upcoming game because of an injury. So that could give Obed the possibility to start, or not start, but be part of the available players for that game. He's now on the roster as an available player. That's official. So I think everything kind of worked out in a way that forced Obed Vargas to be have to stay for Atletico Madrid, which in my opinion is the best possible outcome. I mean, regardless of what happens and whether or not he gets minutes, you always want to be with the team that got you, with the team that signed you. Every time that there's a loan to X, B, or C team, there's that possibility that things don't go your way, or if it does, are the players that are playing for your same positions with the team that signed you, are those players getting better? So now Obed Vargas gets his opportunity to go head to head with the Coques, who's obviously in the last end of his contract, with the Cardosos that are getting injured, with Barrios, who, although he's a written starter for Simeone, he's had some ups and downs. So I think that now Obed gets a real chance at, if he gets an opportunity, making the best out of it as he's done his whole career, and then maybe get more minutes every time. We know Atletico Madrid plays a lot of competitions. This could give a possibility of rotation. So at the end of the day, I believe that the best scenario happened for Obed Vargas.
Okay, and just so you know, you are clean and green right now. You are pedal down, and you're good to go. You are locked in, no lag. You're good. So
Wonderful.
whatever adjustment you made, hang on to that. Was Obed Vargas ready to go? I mean, was he at that point where, yeah, he's ready for that next challenge? But I know there's a difference between being ready for it mentally and being ready for it with your ability. So was this the time for Obed Vargas to go?
That's a fantastic question. I've been asked that quite a few times over the last couple of days. I've done a couple of shows in Spain, a couple of shows in Mexico, and this is the overall conclusion of my thought process. When a chance like this comes around, you have to take it, and it doesn't matter whether you're ready or not. It's this move, even if Oba doesn't play a single minute for Atletico de Madrid over the next couple of months, it's still a good move for him. I mean, he is achieving something that he wanted to do. But to your question, I do think that he has the technical ability, the mentality for it. I think that he has the pedigree to be successful in La Liga. I think that his skill set matches up well with the league and with what Diego Simeone likes out of his midfielders. This is a player that has been playing since he was 15. That's when he debuted. He was 15 years old when he debuted. And regardless of him being 20 years old, he's been through it all. He's been in big games. He's beat the best. He's taken bad games, good games. So I do think that the mentality part is there, because Obed has always done a great job at breaking barriers. He was in Alaska. He knew that he had outgrown the soccer system, made the move to go to Arizona and get exposed to the U.S. soccer system. Went to the academy, showed up, got a second team contract, and got a first team contract. When he was at the first team, regardless of him being 16 years old, he was already helping the team contribute for that CCL title. So he does very well at breaking those barriers and those limitations. So mentality wise, I think he's there. I think soccer wise, he's there. But this is a different beast. This is a Colchoneros team that the expectation is high, and it's not high one or two games, it's high every single game. There's a lot of competition, as we've already mentioned. So does he get the minutes? Is he able to have one bad game or two bad games? That's where things are going to lie. I think that he has all the tools, and I do think that he's ready for this move. But how quickly does it come his way, and how can he stay motivated if, let's say, it takes him a couple of months to finally get some consistent minutes? If it takes a year for him to get some consistent minutes, I think that's going to be the biggest question. But in my opinion, knowing the player, understanding him every day, I think that he's absolutely ready for the challenge.
Okay. Something that happened in Next Pro that I wanted to discuss. Tacoma Defiance, the Octopus, they have their new head coach, and it's Paulo Nagamura. And for those that know their MLS history, he's had cups of coffee in Major League Soccer, 8 years of coaching experience, head coach in Houston, 12 years playing, and he wins 2 MLS Cups and 3 Open Cups as a player. Paulo Nagamura is now the new head coach for Tacoma Defiance. And it was interesting that they hired JP, Joao Paulo, as an assistant coach after his time was up as a player. And so I thought that was interesting that JP slides into the assistant slot with Defiance, with Nagamura now as head coach.
Yeah, we have been talking about this for at least a month or so. When we found out that was the possibility, I think that is a great hire by the organization, because Nagamura, in certain sense, is overqualified to be the first coach of the Tacoma Defiance. I mean, he was coming from being an assistant in Chicago. I mean, he could have continued to stay on that lane, but I think it talks greatly about the desire for coaches and players and people to work with the Sounders, because they know the level of respect that it demands across the league, because it's great to have that Sounder stamp in your resume. And because if there is a possibility to get on that first team, which, when you look at Brian Smetzer and his coaching staff, there's certainly an opportunity there. I think that's what Nagamura went and looked at. So it works in so many levels. One, you get a coach that has a a true trajectory and respect when it comes to developing players, when it comes to working with second teams. He's a coach that, as I mentioned, is overqualified. He's someone that at some point, if any of your assistant coaches go and take other jobs the way it happened with Andy Rose, now you have someone with that experience that you could bring up to that first team coaching staff. And in JP, you get a guy that everyone in the club respects, that is a player that has not just the character and the understanding of the game, but he is someone that's going to be influential for all the players, right? As a leader, as someone that understands the game at another level. He could be a liaison for players and coaches. So to me, it's a no-brainer and is a phenomenal decision by the organization to go and secure a guy like JP to mold them into their coaching style, their coaching system. And I think it's going to be a great duo there where they're going to go off of each other, and JP is going to be able to learn from someone like Nagamura, and then Nagamura is going to have a guy that has all the street cred in the world here in Seattle, in Renton, in the Providence Swedish and clubhouse. So I think it's a great hire.
Yeah, the bouncy house and sushi emporium that we know as Providence in Swedish. It's been a busy week when it comes to transactions and official transactions and things like that. I want to start in the West and I want to work East. You end up with Gilavogi coming as a forward from Ligue 1. He's going to take up a DP slot for RSL. You end up with Sporting Kansas City. David, and I'd mentioned in hour number one that David Lee had said they're going to bring in 10 to 12 new folks. They bring in 2 defenders, one from Nashville and one from St. Louis City. Chicho Arango is now officially official on loan, 5th team in 6 years. And I think his salary, is like $800,000 to make it fit for Atletico Nacional. Cole Bassett goes to Portland from Colorado in the intra-league deal for up to 3.6. This is one of those deals where you can sit there and open the safe and crack it open and send a suitcase from one team to the other. Cole Bassett is that. You end up with Martin Paz leaving Dallas, which to me is a big loss. He goes to Ajax, and then they bring in Jonathan Sirois from CF Montreal to fill that gap. And, so you've got all of those, and then you have Colorado signing Watuta, moving him up from Next Pro. Mati Bogusz officially official. What am I missing here? What have you thought about what we talked about so far?
Elias Baez to Atlanta. That one was an interesting one for me. There's also Janier Martinez going to Philadelphia Union that I thought was a good one. But if I have to choose where to spend my next 10 minutes talking about transfers that are probably done, if you would allow me, sir, and entertain me, I would like to touch on one that has to have a lot of mixed feelings, and is James Rodriguez going to Minnesota.
Okay, yeah, because that one was kind of we see him on a plane. We don't know where he's going. We think we know where he's going. So, yes, James to Minnesota, engage.
I am probably the biggest James Rodriguez fan out there, one of, and I say that as someone who, in all the sense of being a Colombian, loves the national team, watched them go from being a player that came out of nowhere to essentially being the best player in the history of the country, arguably, depending who you talk to. But he's always had a track record, and it's not a good one, when it comes to underperforming at the club level. And from the highest point of his career, even then, when he was performing for Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and Monaco and Porto, even then there was rumors about, ups and downs and things. And he's always been great. He's won in probably more leagues than most, right? At top leagues. But over the last 5 years, specifically, it has been nothing but leaving one club after another, not playing a lot of games, inconsistency after inconsistency. Now, that has nothing to do with the level that he plays in when it comes to being with the national team, because I don't know how he does it, but he turns into a whole other player, and he's a leader, and he's phenomenal, and he's influential, and he does absolutely everything. But at the club level, man, he leaves a lot to be desired. I know that he has the technical ability. I know that he's going to be magical on the ball. I know that he's going to have at least 8 great games in MLS. But for his salary, there was a lot of issues getting him into a team. In Argentina, they didn't want anything to do with him. In MLS, he was shopped around. I mean, Minnesota got him because they are giving him a deal below a DP deal, but they were the highest bidder there. Because out of what you're getting out of James Rodriguez, man, I mean, he has the trajectory. He's a guy that's going to put some butts in seats. He's recognized. He's going to be fun to watch. But if you ask anybody who followed him in León last season, it was the same thing, man. It was a couple of great games, sure. So a couple of phenomenal goals, phenomenal, great for the fans. But he gets old when it doesn't come with success and it doesn't come with consistency. So maybe I'm sounding harsh, but I just don't think that James Rodriguez's play matches up well with the growth of MLS or where it's at right now. I just don't think it's a great signing. I think if I had to give it a grade, it's like a C+, B- maybe. And I only say that because you're getting him at a below DP deal. But even then, I think that there's a lot of question marks that surround James Rodriguez, and specifically for a team like Minnesota that has no stats right now, that honestly, we don't even know how they're going to play next season because Ramsey's gone. So there's just so many question marks that I don't think that James is going to have the impact that people think. But I love it. I do love it in terms of marketing, in terms of it being a cool signing, the fact that hopefully I'll be able to have him come to Lumen Field and get into interview him and all that stuff. Because again, the kid at heart here loves to have James in the league. But as a journalist and as somebody who's going to give you honest opinion, I just don't think he's going to be great in MLS.
Okay, so here's the rundown. And Pipe Sierra and Tom Bogert are both saying that it would not be a DP deal. Just basically handful of months, like a 6-month deal, gets him through the World Cup, etc. And then my guess is they would probably revisit after June 30 or July 30, depending on fiscal year. So he goes to Bayern Munich on loan from 2017 to 2019 toward the tail end of his time at Real Madrid. 43 apps, 14 goals. Everton, 23 apps, 6 goals. Al Rayyan, 13 apps, 4 goals. Olympiacos, 20 apps, 5 goals. Sao Paulo, 18 apps, 2 goals. Rayo Vallecano, 6 apps, nothing. León, 31 apps, and 5 goals. So after Bayern Munich, it is 56, 24, 80. So 111 appearances since 2020, since his time started at Everton. And he has the sum total of 22 goals. Since 2020 and his time started at Everton. Everton, Al Rayyan, Olympiacos, Sao Paulo, Rayo Vallecano, León. 22 goals in 111 games since his time started. His last 6 appearances on the club level. 111 games, 22 goals.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't played in a club game since September. He obviously played with the national team, which is completely different, as I've already mentioned. But if you even add to that, and you know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the amount of games that he's played on a soccer calendar year averages out to about 2.5 games a month that he's played over the last like 4 or 5 years, if you round it up to a soccer calendar year. So there is magic that comes with James Rodriguez, but there's inconsistency. And anybody, I could be wrong, and he could come in here and just be lights out and, you know, have 10 goals, 18 assists, something of that nature, because obviously he's a creative player. He's a creative midfielder. He's going to be distributing. He's going to be more about goal contributions than goals per se. But the likelihood is very low. I mean, if you were to put that in a bet, I mean, you're getting 35-1 odds that he's going to come in here and just light it up, because the track record tells you otherwise. And James Rodriguez in general tells you otherwise. At his age, where he's at, the type of soccer he plays, sometimes he can't even get 90 minutes with the national team, where that's where he does the most, right? There's always that we need to figure out who's going to come in and replace James Rodriguez at the 70th minute, at the 80th minute. So is that where you want to put a lot of your money in a salary cap based league? Not necessarily. But again, I don't want to crap on the move either. I mean, there's a lot of cool things about it. I'm not going to deny it. But when it comes to being a move that's going to put your team at a different level, and that you're going to come in a guy that's a high producer, you're just not getting that at this point in James's career. You're just not.
And that like I said, nothing is official. You take airport, you take the PJ photos from Instagram, the private jet photos. You sit there and you take them for what they are, and it is a tease. But where is he going? Where in the world is James Rodriguez? You know, he is going to turn into MLS's Carmen Sandiego by the time this is done. I wonder, with how things are, you know, with Minnesota trying to, you know, try to figure out who they're going to be now that Eric Ramsey is gone. I wonder what it's going to look like with them now, with Cam Knowles as their head coach, and how different they're going to be. That to me is what I'm intrigued with this. And you have, obviously, you're looking at the forward position, and you know, Will Trapp engages. You've got Bungo Longwani at forward. You got Pereira in the midfield. You've got Stroud, who's come in. Kenyo Michel has come in. Mauricio Gonzalez has come in. Caldera has come in at forward. Shankalai for me. Jordan Adebayo-Smith. I'm intrigued with the look of, say, Tomas Shankalai and a James Rodriguez. How does that look for Cam Knowles? The pieces I'm raising my eyebrow at, because I want to see how it all integrates. But if James is there, you know that you're going to have a lot of folks who are going to defer to him because of this. I mean, it's been a busy offseason for him, but I'm under the impression that with Drew Callender in net and Tomas Shankalai in, that there's going to be a lot of deferring offensively, at least at the beginning, to have James try and create, if this is in fact his destination.
Yeah, and again, it's such a fluid concept when we talk about Minnesota, that it just seems like it's a whole bunch of pieces and we don't know where they're going to go. They're just Legos laying out on the table, and we got to figure out how they're going to stick together. And look, Joaquin Pereira does a lot of the things that James does. He's the set piece specialist, and I dare somebody to try to take a ball from James when it comes to a set piece. I mean, that's an issue. And that is something that's been clearly reported. When James is part of the team, he wants to do A, B, and C, and being that set piece specialist is one of them. So I don't know. Now, there is that other side of the coin where Minnesota has had this sort of players in the past, like Bebelo Reynoso, right? They like those wonderful lefties that, you know, might have some trouble behind them, but they could be great. But that was a different Minnesota. So that's kind of the crazy part, because I guarantee you that this ain't going to be a high pressing team if James is involved, or you better, you know, have somebody else do the job for James and have a DH presser when it comes to James Rodriguez, because he ain't gonna do it. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder how it all comes along together. And Minnesota, as of right now, I just don't rate them very high. There's just too many question marks in too many places for me to say that they're going to have a good season or anywhere close to last season.
All right, Bola Vip, yesterday, Gustavo Davila. Title: The demands at Minnesota United reportedly met for James Rodriguez. So, salary comparison between Alberto Gamero and Fabian Bustos. So, here's what was posted by Davila in his article. Agreed to lower his financial demands to less than the $6 million a year he earned in Leon. Well, prorated, I mean, you're probably looking at, 3 or something like that. So, presumably after rejecting a lower salary, the club compensated him with amenities such as a private security team, a luxury mansion, and personal care. Once again, this is Bola Vip and Davila. In fact, some media outlets have even reported unconfirmed information. James has accepted the team offer, but only for 6 months. Had gone almost 3 months without playing an official match since leaving Leon. However, the obligation to have competitive rhythm to go into the World Cup made him rush his signing demands. According to Marca, and once again, in media outlets in Mexico, so take it for what it's worth, reported he requested these things to play for a team during the 26th season. Private security, team with bodyguard groups available 24/7. Armored car with a driver for all transfers. Luxury mansion, private gym, personal training court. His own personal trainer. Personal chef specializing in Colombian and European diets. Traveling on private flights for long journeys. Private space within club facilities for his own relaxation. So that's, like I said, this is Bola Vip and Davila assembling stuff that was found in Mexico and Marca and things like that. So that kind of stuff alleged that was on the table for James to get into playing rhythm in Minnesota for this season.
He comes with a lot. He is a player that, in my opinion, is still looking to be the face of a team, and that's why you have some of this turnover after turnover after turnover, because his biggest stage is always going to be the Colombian national team. His priority is always going to be the Colombian national team. So at the club level, he wants to have all of these things, but is it worth it for a team? That's the biggest problem, right? And he's going to continue to have these expectations as a player, as I am James Rodriguez. So I just don't know how good it fits here. I don't know how good I don't know how he will adapt to Minnesota life either. I really don't. I mean, that's nice. It's not Monaco. It's not, Porto, and he's certainly maybe even Leon. He just doesn't have that. So I wonder how well this is going to work. But I do know, not just the fact everything that you've already reported and things that we already know, there's advanced negotiations, but the reality is that James doesn't have a lot of options. He doesn't want to play in Colombia. Like in Colombia, he can go play anywhere, right? He doesn't want to play in Colombia. He's already said, I do not want to play in Colombia. So there isn't a lot of options outside of Colombia right now for him that is going to pay him at least close to what he wants. I think the MLS is the only place for him. I really do.
And look, just send him over to Mall of America. Just like, look, you want your diet, just go to Mall of America, get that all squared away. I am intrigued, especially if this Bola Vip report with Davila is anywhere close. I would wonder, okay, so James requires a PJ for long travel. He didn't want to be on a team charter. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued about that. I it's like, what would if he's not, let's just say, let's take this 2 steps down the road. So if he signs with Minnesota United and he's on a PJ for a roadie and he's not producing, how do you think that's going to look in the locker room? If he's going from Minnesota to LAG or Minnesota to check in with UNCL or Minnesota to go play Messi and friends, and his numbers aren't what is anticipated, what do you think the rest of that locker room is going to say if the PJ element in this, the private jet element in this, is supposedly one of the allowances that the club is saying for this? I mean, that's
it's not going to go well. And additionally to what you just said, I think that in MLS, there's a lot more responsibilities with the press, and he doesn't really like to do that. He's just not a guy that's going to be always on the mics. So he's going to get some of that messy treatment without being messy, right? Where you don't want to talk all the time, only talk to certain people, only to certain outlets, only in certain moments. So all of it, he gives you a little bit of that diva-ish feel. And I don't want to necessarily call him a diva per se, but reports and there is some diva-esque type of situations with him as a player, and I just don't know how well that's going to fit with that team particularly.
Yeah. One other signing that I did want to discuss with you that has happened in the last 7 days, Berterame is official for Messi and friends, and they just keep adding and adding and adding, and I'd love to know the capologist down there in Fort Lauderdale and how they're figuring this one out.
Yeah, man. So would I. But it's got to be a lot of stuff off the books, with you and I have talked about plenty of times.
It's NIL, brother. I'm thinking it's what it's got to be.
I like it. And it's the fact that no one is going to bat an eye, because the excuse is always going to be, oh, it's because they want to play with Messi. Oh, of course. No, they want to play with Messi. So that's all we need. We don't need to pay him, to a random LLC somewhere else, or we don't have to give him X amount of money here or drop this mansion there, because Messi is always going to be the scapegoat, because he's the GOAT. So, everybody wants to play with the GOAT. So at the end of the day, I do wonder how things work, because there's just too much talent right now in that team for it to make sense. Now, again, I'm very curious. I'm very excited and almost anxious about watching them play, because if with all this talent results start to go sideways, I just wonder how that group will take it. And look, Berterame is a phenomenal player. If anything, he is always going to be a presence in the box. He's got this huge frame. He's so fast. He gets to all the balls that he needs to. But, sometimes strikers go off of bad, moments. And when you get on those types of slumps, how do you get out of them? I like the ambition, and I like the fact that ever since Messi got to Inter Miami, they've been happy and proudly worn that we are the villain badge. And fine, that's always great for a league. I think it's great to have a villain in the league. And so, depends on other teams and the way they handle their business on to try to beat down that villain. But that villain's always going to have the huge target on their backs, and they're going to have a lot of expectations. They're going to have a lot of pressures. We'll see where certain players are physically. They've already got an injury already, at least 3 to 4 weeks. So there's always going to be things here and there. So look, Berterame, I love that MLS has the power, has the money, and has the vision to get him from a league like Liga MX. There's a whole bunch of people in Liga MX that are upset about the move, because MLS is becoming this league where everybody wants to go to. That is like the new kid on the block that everybody wants to play with, and that's really upsetting some people. So we'll see how it goes at the end of the day. I think Inter Miami is going to be fun to watch at the very least, but I am not, and I guess surprised to no one, because I'm always a Miami skeptic, and I'm not going to, give them all the flowers or glaze them the way some others do. But we'll see where it goes. It is a good signing. It's great to see it. I'm still wondering how it's all going to come together.
And let's see. So this morning, Sounders win over Hammarby. Right now, 30 minutes to go, and FC medalist 1925 has a 3-0 lead on Sounders in the back end of the doubleheader in Marbella today. Marbella, sorry. The Marbella Football Center. So, yes, you have to be correct.
Yeah, I stopped watching because I have a commitment to SDH, and I was like, you know what? I can go watch it again later. But look, this is obviously the second group. The first game was what I think is going to be your starting 11. If you look at that group, that's likely going to be your starting 11. I thought that was a good game. Jesus Ferreira continues to be a player that I just gravitate to. This morning, he was just helping with the chance creation. He was putting so many through balls. He gets a goal, a really good goal. I think Osasa de Rosario has been impressive. He started today at the 9 with Jordan playing the left winger. And to me, that's telling. That's telling of the type of preseason that Osasa's had so far. And if he continues to produce and continues to score, I think he's going to be your starting 9 with, Jordan Morris being the left winger that at times does come inside and becomes that second striker. And it might be a formula that works. But I think Danny Musowski and even Jordan Morris right now are on the outside looking in when it comes to that 9 position, unless, which they haven't really done much, especially in this morning's games, is going with a 2-man system up top. So Osasa great. Nuhu looked really good as well today on both sides of the ball. He gets a very good assist on the third goal for the Sounders this morning for Osasa de Rosario. So he looks really good. now in this second group, I mean, it started off bad. Right before I came on, the first goal that they give up is a pass from Snyder Burnell to Anchor, which is your third goalkeeper, and then he tries to come out of the back and just gives it to the striker pressing. So he had already started bad. I'm kind of curious to see where that goes, but I will be looking into it because that's where Petzovic was going to be playing in. I'm curious about him. Kalani's a guy that I've heard a lot of great things about in this preseason. Curious of how he played this particular game. So 2 games today. Sounders win 3-1 in the first one, and apparently they're getting their butt handed to them in the second game.
Yep. Before you get out of here, David's in our Twitch pitch goes, this is off topic, and was thinking of it more because of how early you've got to wake up to watch. But does Colombia have a Winter Olympic squad, and are you excited to watch any of the Winter Olympics?
That's a phenomenal question, and I am embarrassed to say that I do not know. If we have a Jamaican bobsled team type.
Okay. So let's see. I know Jamaica's got a bobsled team. Let's see if you have a contingent.
Yeah, right at the top of my head, snowboarding, X Games is something that Colombia has done very well. And I mean, and again, I'm more of a summer Olympics guy. So the BMX thing, we've had performers there. When it comes to like the Tour of France and all that stuff, those sort of things is Colombia has really good sports in the weightlifting, the deadlift and all that. But in the winter, man, you caught me there. I don't watch a lot of the winter games, to be quite frank.
Okay. So we have timing and scoring. There actually is a website, olympicocol.co. Colombia represented in 22 in Beijing, 1 female and 2 male athletes, a cross-country skier who finished 88th in men's sprint freestyle and 95th in the men's 15K classic. Speed skater Laura Gomez finished 22nd in the women's mass start event, competing at their second games, having both debuted in Pyeongchang in 2018. You also had an alpine skier who finished 31st in his games debut, but didn't finish the slalom event. So there is a presence. And it looks like it was in the last Olympiad. There were 3 athletes in Beijing in 22. So my guess is, you have 1 athlete, apparently, and it is Frederick Fodstad in cross-country skiing.
Wow.
So you have one Colombian athlete in these winter games in Milan Cortina, and he is a cross-country skier, Frederick Fodstad. So
thank you for that question. I'm gonna keep my eye more on this Winter Olympics. Like I said, they're not the ones that I typically wake up for, like I do for the Summer Olympics. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Now we do have a Colombian in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that. Christian Gonzalez, cornerback for the New England Patriots. He is full Colombian, reps it pretty heavily. So although I do think the Hawks are going to win, and I do lean towards the Hawks because we cover them in Pulso Sports and things like that. But at the same time, I wouldn't be too mad about it if Christian Gonzalez got to be the first Colombian to win a Super Bowl.
That's very cool. Obviously, we'll catch up with you again next week. Go get your third cup of coffee. Go watch the final 25 of a 3-0 whooping at the moment. Get your notes, and obviously we'll be keeping an eye on you, my friend. It's always great to catch up with you with your early wake-up calls every Thursday. Thanks for hopping by, as you always do. It's great to see you.
Thank you, boss.
There he goes, Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at heart. He's going to go watch the last 25 minutes right now. Seattle down 3-0, back into the doubleheader in Marbella, Spain. So it's great to catch up with him. And I know sometimes you end up with report lag, and it literally, when we're talking to Nino, sometimes we are truly blessed. We get a great line out from Lima, Peru. And sometimes, like it is this morning, there's a bit of a 2-second lag. And like I said, literally it just depends on the line and when it happens. And so that's but it's great to catch up with Niko and great to catch up with Nino. I think Niko just flipped a switch and he ended up getting better on the router second time through. So that was good work there. Tomorrow, once again, hopefully catching up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. A little after 10 o'clock, John Arnold's going to join us. We're going to talk a little ConcaChampions. And like I said, if you don't have Get CONCACAF as a part of your Substack, full disclosure, subscriber, mandatory for me. We're going to catch up with him about Texas Tech. We're going to catch up with him about CONCACAF, maybe a little Liga MX, maybe a little Torneo de Tejas, and find out what's going on there and get you ready for the weekend. Saturday and over the weekend, we're going to be starting our high school coverage. DeKalb County is having their media day. We're going to catch up with some coaches and some players over there, and that'll be posted as Red Clay on the weekend. Soccer coverage or games of the week start next week, literally. And the Red Clay Wednesday, the lunchtime high school show, that's going to be back on Wednesdays at noon as well, except for the week that I will be in Macon for the championship. So we're going to have a bit of a start with Red Clay Wednesdays, the noon show where we catch up with coaches all around the state. And our high school schedule legitimately starts in 5 days. Tuesday, Roswell and River Ridge. And it's going to be fun to catch up with the high school schedule as that starts and the season starts there. And we got Atlanta United 11 days later. And we got the Creek Cup from the 12th through the 14th at Johns Creek and at Northview. Great tournament that Kelly Bowler and everybody at Johns Creek put together. We got to catch up with him at some point between now and the beginning of the tournament and find out what's going on in his universe. And then it's on. Torneo de Tejas on the 14th with Dallas. Then you're a week out from the regular season. We will be at St. Pius and Brookwood on the 18th. So 2 weeks from yesterday. So here's your high school schedule for February as we have it. And then happily on your way and stay warm and stay dry for the rest of the day. Back at it again tomorrow. So it is Roswell and River Ridge on the 10th. Then it's Creek Cup, boys and girls competitions on both SDH and SDH2. That's going to be on our Mixler channels, 12th, 13th, and 14th. Then from there, it is St. Pius and Brookwood on the 18th. Then on the 20th, Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. That heavyweight battle, Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. Maddie Cruz and I will be up at the castle for that one. Matt Cheese and Frank Zamora. Man, that is going to be some fantastic early season non-region action. Then on the 21st, season kickoff. Atlanta's in Cincinnati. Optimism begins anew on the 21st. Northgate and Stars Mill on the 24th, the Tuesday. Then Lambert and West Forsyth on the 27th. Then San Jose hosts Atlanta on the 28th. So Maddie and I will be at Lambert and West Forsyth, and we will be at Dalton and Johnson Gainesville because Jason is on the road for Atlanta United in Cincinnati and in San Jose. That gets you to March 1st. So literally that's what we've got going on programming-wise here on the network between now and then. And just legitimately going to be it's going to be a sprint. David wants to know all right, so David's asking, can I clarify generally, are these high school games boys or girls, or are you doing both back to back? We are doing both. We do traditionally it is a girls game and a boys game, 5:30, 7:30, 6, 8, something like that. There are some schools that will flip the order. But we are there when there are two matches on a game day. We are there to do both matches. And they are separate broadcasts on our Mixler channels. So it's not like we're on and then we filibuster and we fill time before the second game starts. Literally, it is come on a little bit before, do game number one, sign off. That gets archived. Then before match number two, come on a little bit before, do match number two and sign off. So daughter plays at Pius. Okay. So David's daughter plays at Pius. So you're going to be, you could be listening at Brookwood or you could be listening wherever you are consuming the game. So yeah, we're doing St. Pius and Brookwood. That one is on the schedule and we are into March right now, like mid-March with our game schedule. And then we kind of keep an eye on it and go, okay, where are we with our region games and things like that? But St. Pius and Brookwood, got the okay to do that one day and a half ago. So we'll be at the Dave Hunter Complex in Brookwood Community Stadium for St. Pius and Brookwood. So yeah, it is literally the game one, take a break, game two, close them up, and the games are archived. So you can go back and listen to the games as much as you want, either live, which we love, or archived or both. And so you can sit there and listen to it and do whatever. So they are always going to be there, and they're there for about a year. And so games are live, then they're archived, so you can go back and listen. Same with the Twos broadcasts. We still have Twos games that are up and running on the thing. Hey, high-priced Hitchhiker 9, you're going to get blocked. This is what happens when you hang out late. Okay, so blocking high-priced Hitchhiker 9. So you've been blocked, and now you're going to get reported. So bot, next. Bot, next. And we type in viewer solicitation bot. All right, viewer, so there's the L, solicitation. Nothing like doing this on live air. Okay. So viewer solicitation bot, submit report. Thank you for submitting your report. Okay. So high-priced Hitchhiker 9's probably short-lived on Twitch. All right. So yeah, we've got our schedule through first week. We're into the first week of March. We've got our February grid already squared away. So you know what our February grid is. Obviously, we've got New England and Atlanta United 2 to start off our Twos broadcasts on March 1st. March 3rd, we're at Johnson Gainesville again for the Jefferson matches, and that's a doubleheader. Then we're going to be at Eastside on March the 6th for Walnut Grove and Eastside. That's a doubleheader out there. Then you have on the 7th, home opener, Mercedes-Benz for RSL visiting Atlanta United. That's on the 7th. Atlanta United 2 and Carolina Core. That is in Athens. Remember, the Twos matches through the World Cup are going to be in Athens. Free to attend, but they're going to be in Athens. Then we're looking at some matches. We're going to be in Gilmer for Calhoun and Gilmer in LJ on March 13th. That one we do know, and then that's where we are trying to figure out the rest of our schedule from there for March and April and playoffs in April. And then obviously we'll be attached to everything when it comes to the championships and the playoffs in April and May for NFHS Network. So you'll hear some of us over there as that as well. So the sprint begins really, what? The 10th. Okay, so the 10th, I think the 10th is probably when the sprint begins. And then when we wake up from the sprint, it'll be December. So that's what 2026 is shaping up to be like. Okay, so once again tomorrow, catch up with our friends, hopefully from Beyond Goals Mentoring, and John Arnold's going to join us a little after 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll talk things there and get you ready for the weekend. DeKalb County Media Days this weekend. Expect that Red Clay activity on the network as well. Set your notifications however you consume all of our stuff. So it's another go-round of Thursday and Thursday Thoughts here on SDH AM. Thanks to Nico. Thanks to Nino. Thanks to y'all for dropping by as you always do. Back at it again, 9:05, a little less than 22 hours, almost 21 and a half hours from now. Since it is the end of the show, mucha plats, y'all. Play it safe. That means I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 in the morning for Friday Freestyle. Weekend begins. First weekend of February. We'll see you then. That's it for SDH AM for your Thursday.